Welcome back, guys. Our turtle has been busy. As you can see, it's already more than made up for the amount of coal we put into it. I think. I'm not actually certain anymore. We might have put more coal than that in. But if you look, there's the little guy down there, digging away. I believe it's still at iron layer, although it might be dipping below that, so we've got a ton of copper and iron. And you can see it uncovered a mine shaft and has been digging away at that. So we've got a ton of fences and wooden planks, which is pretty cool. It hasn't turned up a chest or a minecart chest yet. I'm not certain whether that's because it destroys them inadvertently instead of mining them, or whether it's because it just hasn't run across one yet. I don't see any down there from this point of view, at least. One of the possibilities I considered was if it just sort of dropped the minecart chests rather than actually mining them, but that does not appear to be the case. I don't know. It might just destroy them, but it might not have hit any. Either way, it's doing a valuable task for us, and I am not particularly worried if it is in fact destroying them. But you can also see that there is a little problem we will eventually have to take care of. This water and liquid... Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm going to say essence for now because I don't remember. But it's not actually called essence. Anyway, the Ars Magica liquid here are both completely filling in our basement. For the moment, it's kind of helpful because they're going to instantly solidify any lava that the turtle happens to come across, which is good because it means... Oh, here he comes to drop off a load of stuff. Let's watch him do it. But yeah, it instantly solidifies any lava into obsidian, which is great because Snappy here can mine up the obsidian, whereas he'd just move through the lava and it would burn some of those abandoned mineshaft things and just be a general nuisance to clean up afterwards. So this is definitely helping us out in that way. So maybe we won't take care of it right now, but eventually we're going to need to get rid of all this, and I have a couple of ideas for how to do that. We'll want to collect as much of this liquid essence as we can, because as we saw last episode, it's used in powering that Ars Magica 2 obelisk. And here's what the turtle returned with from one run. This is everything except the cobblestone and the dirt. I filtered cobblestone. You saw last episode how I set that up. I also filtered dirt because we filled up our barrel, and I don't think we are going to need more than 64 stacks of dirt for the time being. I haven't really done anything else. Just got that turtle running, and I've been clearing out his chest. So I think off camera I am going to finish building the walls for this Ars Magica 2 room, and maybe put in some of the details, the stone slabs, the glass panes, that sort of stuff. I'll show you the finished product briefly, but I think this episode, what we are going to want to get started on is some sort of power generation. And we will have to think long and hard about what sort we want and how we're going to set it up. Because well, we've got a ton of resources. So we'll want to be able to pretty quickly now get into auto-doubling them and smelting them down and automatically processing them. And we probably even have enough to start setting up an applied energistics system that will help us store all those items and will really clean up that mess we have in the middle of our courtyard there, so we can place a fountain and just have a lovely courtyard rather than what is there currently. But for that we'll need power. So I'll give some thought into what power source we're going to look at first. In the meantime, I will finish up this Ars Magica room, or at least get it to a pretty advanced stage, and I'll be right back. Well, what do you think? We've got an actual room with a real roof. That's a plus. You can see I've made our crafting altar, which will allow us to make spells if we so choose. Our obelisk, now hooked up to a mana battery, and capable of powering our two machines, the reconstructor, which we've seen, and the essence refiner, which allows us to gather basically essences, which are crafting materials used in Ars Magica. We've also got our oculus, which we've used before, and our inscription table, which lets us lay out what our spells will be. And here's our arcane compendium, ready for use. And we've got room for the two additional power generating structures. All in all, I'm very happy with it and how it turned out. You can see also that I've got this portable tank set up. I brought that down to the basement and got some of the liquid Ethereum that was in the basement there. So I can easily add some Ethereum to that obelisk. I've made another change as well. First of all, you'll see that I've got a furnace here. I just needed that to smelt some of the vidium dust that was required for making some of those Ars Magica machines. But I've decided how we're going to start breaking into tech. We are going to start with Ender.io. So Ender.io as a mod is what we're going to use for most of our cables. Its advantage is that you can have multiple different cables in one block. So, for example, you can transfer power and have ME cabling for your applied energistic system, and transfer fluids and items all in a single block using their conduits. So, because we will need to use the alloy smelter to make certain aspects of that, I figured we'd just go all out and start tech with Ender.io. We can see here I made a simple Stirling generator, which just burns combustible fuel and produces power. And I have started grinding a stack of iron ore that we can use, well, as iron eventually. One of the advantages of Ender.io ore processing is the SAG mill has a chance to produce extra products, much like thermal expansion pulverizer. So we've got some tin and nickel dust, which is great. Now I suspect we can speed this up as well. The limiting factor currently appears to be power production, but I suspect that these slots might accept capacitors, which may speed the activity of the machine. So I'm going to make a set of capacitors, and we will see if my hunch is correct. I think they take gold and copper and redstone. Yep. So let's see if we can put these into the machine, if they even fit in that slot. No. I have here all the mod items. I don't know what I would put in there of these things. I think I will take a moment and look it up, because if there is a way I can increase the efficiency of this item, I will be quite pleased. Because as it currently stands, it's going quite slow. And I know that's because I'm charging both of these machines. Once they're fully charged, the sag mill will be able to draw 3 times as much power, which will triple the speed it's working at. But if I could increase the speed of the generator, that would be helpful. Give me a moment and I'll be right back. Okay, I looked it up and I was mostly correct. This does require a capacitor, or that is a slot for a capacitor, but you need at least the double layer capacitor. And this one, the octadic capacitor, is even better. So we're going to make a double layer capacitor. We just need a coal dust to do it. That produced, oh, I see. It already had an iron in there that it was grinding. So in a moment, that is going to produce our coal dust, which you can see we will use with some of the electrical steel we have gotten from chests in the past. We can technically make electrical steel now, and I may end up doing that. Oh, here we go. Put the rest of that iron back. I may end up doing that to fully upgrade all those machines. Or not fully, but, you know, upgrade those machines. Because having them faster and more efficient is in our best interest. Okay, so theoretically, this should now be producing, let me look it up, twice as much power, going from 20 RF per tick to 40. It should hold 200,000 instead of 100,000 RF in its buffer, and the fuel should burn slightly slower. Good to know. I would expect that that would significantly speed up activity here, but I suppose we are still topping off those machines. Now we should see this speed up slightly. Okay. Well, I am going to work on making some more of those capacitors, and I'm going to search around to see if we can make, if we have any of that alloy that's required to make the top level capacitor. and I will be right back. Okay, I have all the materials for the final upgrade. Nope, I don't. Be right back. Now I have all the materials for the final upgrade to our capacitor to make that engine or generator super efficient. There we go. Now we have 2 of the double layer capacitors, and we make 1 octadic capacitor. There we go. 1 million RF storage. The coal will burn more slowly, and it will generate, I believe, 80 RF per tick. Works for me. Although, unfortunately, that is still not enough to run both of these machines at full speed. Too bad, too bad. But if we leave it for long enough, we should get a good build-up of RF, 1 million of it, which will allow us to pretty quickly process things once we're to the point of processing them to order, so to speak, instead of these huge batches. Obviously, this is not going to sustain our needs once we have automated mining and everything like that set up. I suppose we have some form of automated mining already, but this is just one large amount. Eventually, we will have things set up so that we are getting a constant stream of resources. This won't keep up. We will have to come up with an alternative method to process all that. I'm thinking Dartcraft, which can be very fast. But for the time being, it is doing its job admirably. See? We just burned or smelted quite a lot of iron, and we've still got nickel and tin coming out, and that it's actually going quite slowly. I put 1 stack of iron in there quite a while ago, and though I've been taking it out to add other things when needed, it's taking its time. But we have more than a stack of iron now to work with, which I think should hold us over for the near future. Off camera, I have been working I wonder why that is. Oh, okay. Because that is less than a stack. Okay. Or not less than a stack. Anyway, I have been working on something off camera. And if we take a quick trip to spawn, I will be able to show it to you. So, there are a number of ways to make steel, and it has quite a few uses. I took a stack of iron, put it in this metallurgic infuser, from mechanism, added 2 stacks of coal, and basically turned that iron into steel dust. Oh, lag spike. Which I then took over to this smeltery. And you can see here I automated it so that I could put the stack in this chest, and it would get added to the smeltery, smelted into liquid steel, and then automatically pumped out into this ingot cast. And from there pulled out, this part was already here, the hopper leading into a chest, to get us a stack of steel ingots. This is fantastic. If we look at the uses of steel, we can see beyond the tools and armor, there are a number of machines that are from Railcraft, which we're not going to play around with at the time. But machines like big reactor casings. Yep. That's what I'm thinking. I am thinking that quite soon we will upgrade from our Stirling generator into a big reactor. Which will serve all our power needs for the whole base. But anyway, steel is super useful, and now we've got a stack of it, so I think that will serve to get us started in... Oh, autonomous activator requires steel. Good to know. That'll get us started in whatever advanced machines we want. Eventually I'll have to make those machines at our base, but for now, running to spawn isn't that big a deal. I am going to take a second to think about what I want to do next and keep shunting around these items as they become available for smelting. Someday I will need to automate this. I'm not exactly sure what the sidedness of these Ender IO machines is. I know in more recent versions they have a thermal expansion like AI that allows us to specify which faces do what. But in the version we are using, it does not appear we have this capability. Anyway, give me just a minute to think about what we might want to do, and then I'll get right back to you. Okay, we're getting sort of close to the wrapping up point, so I think maybe what we will do next is make our first spell. So we have access to the dig and the light effects. So the first spell I think we should make is a projectile light spell. I have not actually played with Ars Magica since its last update. Oh, do these go down here? There we go. Okay, projectile light. We will name it, let's be uncreative. Projectile light. And now we have a book that tells us exactly how to make the projectile light spell. We will need a blank rune, Vidium dust, an arrow, a snowball, a white rune, a blue orchid, glowstone, Vidium torch, and spell parchment. These are doable. Let me collect those, and then I'll come back and show you how we make the spell. Okay. I believe I have all the components ready to make this spell. In order to do this, you take the book and put it on the pedestal. Next, we take a blank rune and throw it into the center of the crafting altar. That starts the crafting process. As we can see, the next item in the list hovers above the book. So next we throw in our Vidium dust, which gets consumed. Then an arrow, then a snowball, then a white rune, blue orchid, glowstone dust, Vidium torch, and finally a spell parchment. And congratulations, we have our first spell. As you can see, when the spell comes or is selected on our hotbar, our mana and burnout and Ars Magica experience bars come up. Now, the first time we right-click, we can name the spell and select what its icon will be. Let's take a look. See if there's a candle. Does not appear so. So, as this is a projectile light spell, we'll select that as the icon for it. I'm going to continue to call it projectile light. And then I hit escape, and we now have access to the spell. Now, I've never actually used a light spell before, so let's see what it's like. If we right-click, oh, excellent. We send a light there, and it gets placed. I have no idea the duration of that light, whether it's forever or whether it will disappear eventually. I can definitely look at it and break it manually by punching it. Why don't we perform an experiment? Well, guys, this experiment seems to be a success. This is actually a couple days later. This entire area has been loaded the whole time, and lo and behold, the sparklies are still here. I also did a little test where I looked at what light level this was emitting, and it is the same as a torch, 14. So, yeah, this is a viable alternative for torches throughout the fort. I think, in fact, what I will do right now is replace some of these mid-room torches. And at some point in the future, Maybe I'll replace other torches, but I kind of like the look of some of them in the hallway here. Well, that's it for this episode. I think we were really productive, which is nice. Got some automation set up, finished up this Ars Magica room, and made our first spell. Next episode, we may start focusing a little bit more on power generation and the beginnings of a storage system. It may also be the case that our turtle finishes carving out our basement, which means we might look into pumping away some of the liquid in there. But we'll have to see. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.